All right. Good morning, everyone. So we sit here. It is 10:31 Eastern, 10:31 on Halloween. So just thought I would point that out. 10:31 on 10:31. Thanks to everybody for being here. Really appreciate it. What we wanted to dive into today is a bit of a discussion on partnerships. So as a quick overview, I'm Tim Kopp with Hyde Park Venture Partners. Prior to this, and we invest in high growth SaaS companies through the Midwest and underserved capital markets. Prior to that, I ran marketing for a company called ExactTarget. And during that time, I ended up running partnerships in our partner team, ended up becoming very passionate about the idea of partners and using them as a strategic asset and a strategic weapon. And I just found that many companies have not really figured out how to sort of unlock the power of partnerships. So joining me today, we have Dan Hannaran with Sigster and Sangram Varhe with Terminus. Sangram is one of the co-founders of Terminus and chief marketing officer and evangelist of the whole Flip My Funnel movement. And Dan is the founder and president of Sigster. I've been fortunate to know both of these guys for many years, and Hyde Park is fortunate to be an investor in both of them. So why don't, from there, I'll kind of turn it over to you guys quickly just to kind of set the table for partnerships. One of the things I think is, well, partnerships can be so elusive. How did you end up with partnerships? Where do you think they should best sit within a company? And one of my views is you can't hire somebody really like junior and new into a company to own them. I think in the beginning, they need to be owned at a very senior level. So Sangram, maybe we can start with you and talk about partnerships and how Terminus has leveraged them and how you ended up kind of running partners.
Yeah. So thanks, Tim, for having me. And I think it's been really interesting to think about partnerships. Quite frankly, I wasn't thinking about partnerships as something that I should be focusing on or something that, was like, well, somebody in sales should be running it. Like, let's just hire a sales dev and just give them, right? And then what I realized was that these strategic level partnerships don't happen overnight. They take a lot of muscle, a lot of time, a lot of understanding, a lot of people concepts. And more importantly, it represents your brand.
Yes.
And as a founder, as an executive in the company, like you have to own that, saying that, you know what, if you're going to do these strategic bets, and they cannot be like 20, they have to be like 2, 3, or 5, whatever those bets are, you need to start spending the time you need to build those. And they take a tremendous amount of effort mentally, physically, and all those things. So I realized that, we were just floating for the first year, trying to kind of figure things out and kind of passing the ball around. And then lately, we were like, no, who's owning this one partnership? As HubSpot is an investor in us and also a strategic partner. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to own HubSpot relationship, which means at all levels, I'm going to meet them on a quarterly basis, figure things out, maybe do some go-to-market strategies and pull people in. But I own reporting internally to the company. Yes. What are we doing with this strategic partnership and what's our vision with this? But I can't own 20 of them, so I have to be very selective. Right. So it's kind of starting to kind of manifest itself. We're not anywhere perfect, but we're clearly realizing the ownership and the responsibility that it comes with when it comes to strategic partnership.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks.
Yeah, Sangram, right. Man, I couldn't agree more. It's really like it's just like an enterprise sale, right? If you're selling a really, really, really big customer, there's a couple things that are true. One, you need some executive alignment from the company because it's not a cookie cutter process, right? You're learning things on the fly, and you need some authority to go make decisions. And you really have to invest in this over a period of time, right? Like an enterprise sale, nothing happens quickly. You got to give, and earn more value, meet more people. And, in a big, partner like HubSpot, like Terminus, they're a strategic investor and partner for Sigster. And that takes a lot of time. And there's a lot of baby steps that lead up to the big opportunity. As Tim at ExactTarget, I think coined the phrase, build your business on the shoulders of giants. As Sangram with the Flip My Funnel movement and Sigster with email signature marketing, as we try to drive awareness, what better way than to go through somebody like HubSpot, who has 34,000 customers and 300,000 subscribers to the blog. So it's that enterprise ownership and sort of executive alignment is just like it is with an enterprise sale, so important for partners.
Right. I think both of you guys have done such a phenomenal job early on how to leverage partners. HubSpot being an investor in both of your companies, being a strong strategic partner. So big congrats on that. Plenty of runway still to go. Kind of in honor of Halloween, you guys have kind of cracked the code on this. You probably feel like you have so much work to do, but why is this partnership topic so scary to people? Why does it just feel like so many folks don't lean into partnerships kind of in the way you do? Sangram?
I think it is scary.
It's like, where do you start, right? I mean, that's part of it.
And how do you measure? Because everything has this like a immediate ROI or like, hey, what is the 3-month, 4-month kind of time frame on a program? And as marketers and like sales professionals and all, like we know, like, oh, we hired this person in 3-month ramp time. This is what you get. In partnerships, it's like, you have no idea. You might actually spend a ton of time on working on a partner and it may not go anywhere. That's the risk that you run into. And I've done that before where like, all right, I went through this rabbit hole and I spent like so much time on it, but it didn't really go anywhere. So it's scary for somebody in the organization to own like, 4 or 5 and 2 or 3 of them not actually working out or may not be the right direction. And I think the bigger part is that there is no clear playbook for it of like, here's how you do partnership and here's the 5 steps to do partner stuff. It's so different with every company, even within the partnership. A partnership with HubSpot today, given their investor and a target audience that we want to sell into, is different than a partnership that we're trying to build with LinkedIn, for example, which is very much product focused and kind of figuring out. So the levels of partnerships could be different. So it's not like, oh, you cracked the code on one partner, so now you know what to do on the next one. You may have a framework of how to go about it, but it's not simple. It's not straightforward. And I think that itself is very, very scary for somebody to take on.
I think it's right on. One of the big issues implicit in what you're saying is patience, right? They're not like a dial that you turn. And the value exchange initially, HubSpot has hundreds, if not thousands of companies wanting to come to them and partner. And so you have to be patient and sort of how you do this dance with, it's like kind of an ant dancing with a gorilla, right? It's just the size is so different. So Dan, this is an area you and I have talked an awful lot about, partnerships and kind of where do you start? And, you've taken this on as founder. I think you guys have done a great job just coming out of inbound with HubSpot. And what learnings do you have to share on just like where do you tackle this thing and where do you start?
Yeah, so I think when we talk about partnerships for us, and I think for most businesses in the SaaS space, it's sort of twofold. You've got sort of your integration partners where you can build product to plug into the Salesforces and HubSpots of the world. And then you also sort of have, in our case, the referral sort of agency partner side. And so we kind of looked at it holistically. And as we tried to figure out who to go after, we started surveying all of our customers, right? And so client success, their job, if we had a customer, was to enter who our customers used in marketing automation. And so we at least started to have a little bit of data before we went and tried to boil the ocean and tackle all these, just like with enterprise sales, you got to pick a few and go after them.
Yes.
And so I think one of the scary parts, especially on I'll tell you maybe a scary story on both sides. On the agency side, I went to HubSpot Partner Day and there were 3,500 partners. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was expecting maybe 100 agency partners. Then how the heck do you manage that? And then on the other side, on the product side, and on the agency side, what we've started to do is maybe just a quick way that we're starting to try to scale that. We use software from a company called Ambassador.com, and that allows us to put a really simple form on our website where you can sign up to be a referral partner. And then those that actually send referrals that turn into qualified meetings and opportunities with really good customers that we can help, then they graduate to a little bit more of an agency partner where we spend a lot more time with them and enable them, et cetera. But we, had to try to figure a way to scale that really big world into something and try to find the ones that we were really going after the same types of customers and helping the same kind of people. And then on the product side, the scary thing is I've got to take my engineers and go invest product time, right, in that effort. And so when we look at that, it was like we wanted to make sure that what we were building was going to be useful by the largest set of customers that we had. And that also some of the frameworks that we built with the APIs were repeatable in sort of the CRM or marketing automation space, which are the 2 areas that we hit. So just, again, finding ways to scale a world that's really big and then finding ways to be smart, because engineering time is at such a premium for every company.
Prioritization.
Yeah.
Prioritization is a lot of, because how do you not boil the ocean? Just pick a handful of partners. One of the things you brought up, I do believe in very, very firmly. If you look at all software category leaders, they have leveraged open partner ecosystems. They just have. So it's figuring out both how do you start by driving this partnership mindset, but then ultimately with a mind toward how are you going to open up your platform for others to connect and partner with you, which I know is part of your ultimate vision. So Sangram, maybe you can, for the whole audience, tell everybody a little bit about Terminus. We just sort of hopped right in. So maybe give a little bit of an overview of Terminus, what you guys do, the whole Flip My Funnel movement, and how you drew so many partners into that conversation so quickly.
Sure. So Terminus is the leading account-based marketing platform. I think you got to be under a rock if you haven't heard about account-based marketing in the last year and a half. It has kind of, somebody was showing me a Google chart recently of there was no searches on ABM for in 2014, and then 2015, 16, 17, it's like a straight line. It's just crazy. And I think we kind of stumbled upon it in some ways. We kind of found an easiest and the fastest way to do account-based marketing at scale. And, coming from a Pardot background prior to this, I was fortunate to run marketing at Pardot and went through the ExactTarget and Salesforce acquisition. That's how I worked with Tim and I've learned a lot. I learned what scale means from a startup company to a large company like ExactTarget and a super large company like Salesforce within a span of 2 years. And what I realized, to Tim, your point, is that ecosystem is a big part of the growth. And it's the growth driver for companies. And for us, sitting here in Atlanta, it was really hard to kind of think about, all right, first-time founders, we're going to try to build a new category. We really don't have, at that time, a ton of investor capital. Even now, it's not like we have raised hundreds of millions of dollars. How do we do this thing sitting here in Atlanta? And the way we kind of, in a way, attempted to figure this thing out was kind of start this Flip My Funnel movement. Which turned into a movement. It wasn't really a thought that, hey, let's create a movement. It turned into it. And it was about let's bring people, practitioners, industry leaders, influencers, partners, everybody together and create an industry conference where we are thinking about the problem and we're thinking about the community. And as a result of that, just create incredibly strong personal relationships. So over the last 2 years, we have done 8 conferences in 6 or 7 different cities. And the last one we did was in San Francisco. We had 1,500 people attend that, over 60 sponsors, over 100 speakers. And it's so amazing to kind of think about that. Almost each one of these sponsors are also partners, right? A lot of times you think about, oh, this is a sponsor. No. They can actually be a partner of yours. And now together you can go and sell things. And so many great things happen as a result of it.
Yes, right on. And Dan, maybe Sigster, you guys are demonstrating explosive growth as well. Give kind of just quick overview to the audience what you're doing. And what I want to highlight is you guys are both creating new categories of software in many ways, in my view. So given that you're creating categories of software, I think leveraging a partner ecosystem becomes even more important in many ways. So maybe give a quick overview of Sigster, what you guys do, and then what parts of what you haven't created sort of this Flip My Funnel type approach, but you've been very effective in how you've carved off and tackled that.
Yeah, so it is a brand new category, right, in both cases. And, if I kind of go back, so just foundationally for Sigster, what we do is we unlock corporate email. So if you think about Gmail and Outlook, every business in the world runs corporate email and every desk employee has access to those systems. But for so long, we've all sort of ignored employee email as an owned marketing channel, right? These people come in every day and they send 10,000 emails per year to the people that we want to market to. And so how do we make that simpler? And we call that email signature marketing. And we tap into the employee email signature to deliver content and stories and event announcements, et cetera. And so that's a brand new thought for most. And like Sangram, we had to figure out a way to share that with the world. And if you kind of think about what that means, I go back to sort of e-commerce and what Amazon has done, right? And product reviews. When somebody, a third party that's not affiliated with my business, tells you that email signature marketing is all the rage, then you listen and you're like, well, what is that? And so there's a couple of things that we've done. One, the product is sort of naturally viral. And so we put a watermark in the email signature that says powered by Sigster. And so when we get a customer or a partner or an influencer, there's been cases where we've taken a big influencer in the marketing space and we've said, hey, just use Sigster. We think you'll love it. And then every time they send an email, it's sort of an advertisement for email signature marketing. Not necessarily for Sigster, but at least, oh boy, that is owned digital real estate that I could tap into. And so we've really, again, like Sangram talked about earlier, focused on the brand. We go to all the industry events, see who's there, who people are listening to, and then we try to just to make them fans, add value to their marketing efforts, and as they spread the word, that helps Sigster if we sort of delight those folks.
Yeah, and I'll just say, like, just being a huge Sigster fan, like, I think it's an incredible, like, I have no idea why nobody else thought about it. Of course, you guys did, so I'm so glad you did. But like, we are such a huge fan of Sigster. The fact that emails is by far the most sent kind of content internally and externally. And I think the value of email signatures has been, like, for whatever reason, has been super diminished until I think Sigster came about and said, hey, you know what? This is your gold mine. You need to think about your emails as one of the most important things of form of communication that happens both internally and externally. And the fact that you can think about it and make sure that not every content is the same, not every recipient cares about the same message. You can kind of focus on it, personalize it. I think it's such a huge stuff. I just want to give a shout out to Sigster. I think you guys have done a phenomenal job.
It's funny because I went to the Flip My Funnel conferences. We brought our team there. We wore our Sigster shirts. And we were really happy. And we saw Sangram up on stage, right? So we wanted to make Sangram really happy so he would share that kind of story. But that's what it's all about. It's finding people that have a big audience, big megaphone, and influence and trust. And thank you, Sangram, for the comments. We're grateful for that.
You have a Sangram dinner. That's what I heard.
I do.
So, you guys have both just grown explosively. 3-4x growers, becoming leaders in your categories. And I think part of why you've been able to do that really effectively is you show ROI, just flat out, to cut through all the garbage that's in MarTech right now. So a lot of it, and I think the reason HubSpot was interested is they have sort of this flat file, more of a CRM system, a system of record, but you're able to take that data and information they have in the system, activate on that, and then help drive ROI at the literal point of interaction.
Yep.
So that leads to, and by the way, there's an ask a question bar on the bottom. If you have a question, just submit it there. It leads to one of the questions I had and was also submitted. As a smaller partner, you guys are so much smaller than somebody like HubSpot. How do you even go about starting to demonstrate value for them? I mean, what was remarkable to me is both of your names were called out from the main stage at HubSpot, at Inbound, in front of a really large audience, Terminus many times. So how can that be? Like, how do you become relevant to such a big partner? And I do think part of it is owning that point of interaction, helping them understand what ROI looks like and building value for their company. But talk to us a little bit about that and how you went about doing that.
So I think we're still working on it, and it's something that is a work in progress. And I think the way I am looking at it is, like, how do we create conversations at all levels at HubSpot? Because you're right, we're small and we don't have the kind of headspace on everybody's radar. How do we make sure that we are learning, understanding, and sharing, and also showing that we care about this relationship? And our goal, our internal goal is to, and we have shared this with HubSpot as well, is that we want this to be the best investment and partnership they've ever done. And that's something that we want to live by, and we talk about it religiously in a lot of our internal conversations. And one of the things that we're doing is that, all right, every single month, what is this one strategic kind of conversation or connection that we're having with HubSpot? So of all things, this is, and Katie Brooke may not want me to share this, but like Katie Brooke, the chief people officer, right? And we realized that, man, one of the things HubSpot has is an incredible culture, and they talk about it, and we want to see, and we just don't want to look at this as a product partnership. We want to look at this as a movement partnership, like how to build great company partnership, right? So we're inviting Katie Brooke to come in January and spend time with us for a day and share with her how HubSpot build their culture. So what we're really trying to do is build a true, authentic relationship at all levels in the organization, so that we have product conversations happening, but we also have people conversations happening. We also have technology conversations happening, marketing conversations happening, and none of them kind of stand on by itself. all of them kind of build upon each other. So it's a work in progress.
And Sangram, could I ask you a quick question? Do you, I'm curious how you're doing this, because we're approaching it in a very similar fashion. Do you own all those conversations, or do you connect your marketer with their marketer, your HR leader with their HR leader? How, and you sort of manage the relationship, or how do you do that?
Today I'm owning every strategic relationship at head of product, head of chief people officer, or even everything strategic. I'm owning it, which means that I'm on like a ton of emails. But then I'm copying all the other people, have a relationship, and I feel like, you know what? I have to suck it up and do the work right now until we get to a point where we have this machine working. So a lot of it is like, there are days when I'm like, oh my goodness, I wish somebody could just do all this for me. But then, it goes back to our first point. Like, nobody's the right mind gonna sign up for it. It's only the crazy ones like all three of us who would sign up to do something that has the highest probability to fail and may have the hardest thing to do and the most work and manual work in it. But if it works, the end result is phenomenal.
And Tim, can I maybe say one thing there? Just the two lenses I think that we've approached the larger partners where we know we've got to give a lot in order to earn the opportunity is to sort of, at the end of the day, they're people on the other end of the call. And one of the things I always like to ask is, hey, at the end of the year, when you're looking at partnerships or your job, how do you get bonused, right? How do you know if you won? And then trying to align whatever the heck we do with whatever that is.
Exactly right.
And so for HubSpot, right, and many, it's taking care of their customers and helping them grow their business. And so it all comes back to the lens for us is, do we have joint customers, and can we help those marketers do their job better by coming together with a partner? And so, it's really people at the end of the day.
You know what I'm thinking as we sit here? One of the things that was helpful is we've actually sat on both sides of the table. So you've worked for the larger company, Dan, you originally kind of iGo Digital and then ExactTarget. So you've been understood how a larger company can use smaller partners to drive, engagement, and you sort of get this innovation halo effect. You get extension of capabilities that your customers want. You can start to save customers who might be about ready to leave. You can start to win new customers. So starting to activate then through the sales force. And once you get the sales team, to me, a lot of this is get a great case study or two. You go really deep. You show the extension of value, and then you start to show their sales reps. This is how, by leveraging a partner, we saved a deal or we won a new deal, because no one company can do it all. So how do they sort of come together and partner? So go deep, get that case study, and then blow it out through the sales team. So in that spirit, and what could you guys share? Maybe something you've learned, something that you think has worked really well, and something that if you could go back and do over again, maybe you would do differently.
I would say what's worked well is going to the conferences really early and getting involved in the ecosystem and again, wearing your t-shirt, just hiring good people and showing up at conferences and investing in the relationship has been great. What hasn't worked, and one other thought there to your point of sales alignment, when we have on both sides, maybe they have an enterprise customer they're targeting that's a Sigster customer, or when we are going after an enterprise deal and I know that their rep has a relationship, we'll email the partner manager at HubSpot or whatever the partner is and say, could we please talk with the relationship manager in just a 5-minute conversation, because inevitably the question's going to come up, do you have an integration with company XYZ? And the answer needs to be, oh, yes. And Joe, your rep, is familiar with what we do. And then Joe, again, can sort of be that third-party validation of what you're doing. So that's worked really well. What hasn't worked well is when anybody raises their hand and say, let's build a partnership, and we just dive in and try to do something without fully understanding. And then you get into it, and inevitably it's like, wait a minute, do we actually take care of the same person? Right? Do we serve the same customer? And is it really a 1 + 1 = something greater than 2? Scenario, not only for each of us, but most importantly for the customers we're trying to help together. So just knowing what not to do is the most important thing.
I love that, man. I think I'll start with what hasn't worked, and what we're learning from it now is that having too many cooks in the kitchen hasn't worked in the beginning, especially when you're small and everybody's trying to do 5 different things in the company. And now on top of that, you're saying, hey, you need to also run partnerships. It doesn't work. It doesn't scale. And it's really hard to kind of see value. And then you start getting the thoughts like, hey, maybe this is not worth it. Well, it's not worth it because maybe we haven't put enough time or energy or thought behind it. So I think it's at a strategic level, just figuring out as an organization, prioritizing which are the right accounts or right partnerships we're going to focus on has been a very, very important lesson we learned. And that's what we're trying to follow through now. The thing that has worked really well has been, to your point, Dan, I'll echo that, is all these events have allowed us to create this incredible personal relationship where it feels like, we know them, they know us. And I think we all know this, like, people buy from people want to partner people. And in the early days, when you're a small company, really, you don't have it all figured out. You don't have the best product that you really want. Your vision is bigger than your product today and will always be. But in the early days, it's really very, very challenging. But people would give you the opportunity. The big companies will give you the chance if they see that you have the passion to solve this problem, you care, and you care more than anybody else that they would ever work with. And that feeling of emotion and care really drives the initial conversations with them. And I think that's what we feel like we have done a better job of it.
I love this thread. The things that I talked about, sort of summarize it, add my own commentary, is in the beginning, you sort of have to fake it till you make it. So you're trading on relationship currency, right? Like, does somebody know you, like you, trust you? And at the end of the day, they're taking a bet on a person as much as they are a company. So things really trade on relationship currency. And then 3 keys, I think, going into it is defining success. What does success look like? I love the way you talked about that, Dan. What's in this for you? And figure out how do you build the win. Then creating the single point of accountability. It's not realistic that they can have 100 partners and then 5 points of contact in each one of those. So I own partners, and then you are the champion and you navigate it and deal with that complexity. And then a big one that I heard both of you say a bit, but I know you're really focused on, is focus on the customer, not on the product. And when you're focused on solving customer problems, this works out. So in my view, the easiest way to get started is figure out where you have a joint customer, figure out where there's a customer problem, and then dive into that versus getting caught up in what's theoretically possible and not sort of customer focused. So a couple minutes left, and we need to let you guys get on with your day and let the audience do that as well. So to kind of bring this home, proof's in the pudding on measurement, I think. So we talked about this takes patience. So part of it is why I believe a senior leader needs to own partnerships is it just requires some time to really show what the value is. But how do you guys at an early stage start to talk about where you're having success and ROI so you can both sell it internally and then sell it back to the partner? Sangram, you want to go first, and then Dan, we'll let you have the final word.
All right. So I think we are looking at it quarter by quarter as opposed to an yearly plan, just because there's so many moving parts in it. And initially we're trying to have this like full-blown plan, and it was like, it was just blowing our brains off. So we're like, no, let's not do that. Let's just focus like what is the success? What does the picture of success look like this quarter and then next quarter? And then kind of figure out. And as soon as we start, because some partners we see faster movement than others, right? So we will have to adjust the plans there and our ability to focus on some of those things. So I think one thing that we're starting to do is like, we are defining as an executive team we did that literally last week. What does the picture of success look like for Q4 with some of these partners that we have on the list, like 2 or 3, and then really starting to think about, well, what does the picture of success would look like, for next year, but really focus on near term. So we actually do something about it. There's an action plan as opposed to, as your point, Tim, is like, it's not just theory. We're actually going to do something.
Yeah, it's perfect. And it's not always, I think at the end of the day, right, a lot of people just look at hey, top of the funnel leads and did we close deals, and maybe go a little further, are those customers happier as a result of that? And all those things are important. But if those are the first things and the only measure of success, to Sangram's point, having smaller milestones along the way, if HubSpot is my focus, I have to have a monthly piece of strategic content. I have to meet 3 people in these departments. And that will ultimately lead. Those are again, showing you care, showing you understand the brand, doing things together, give, get type work. And at the end of the day, if you do that well, then the leads and the deals and really, really happy customers follow. And so I think Sangram's really, really, really on it with some of those 2 or 3 partners with milestones in a shorter time frame and being nimble about how you adjust.
I love that. Driving alignment, continual communication, over communication, and making sure that everybody's on the same page, I think, are so critical early on. The final one I would add is customer stories. When you can get to a couple of great customer stories, here's a customer we worked on, this is what we did, and this is why it was a win-win for both sides. Stories are what really, I think, that's what travels inside the company so quick. People remember these stories, either they do product features or names. And I think they also tend to make their way up the executive food chain at the partner companies more quickly. So customer stories.
Agree, 1,000%. Yep.
Guys, thank you so much for your time. I feel like we could, I wish we had another half hour because I love this topic. This has been a great conversation. Yeah. Thanks to both of you guys for giving us some time, and thanks to Jackson Troxel for doing an excellent job hosting and pulling this all together. Everybody have a great day, and thank you for joining in. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah, Bye. Happy Halloween.